joined you as we discuss issues of national importance in terms of broadcasting services, which is a sector that you've been appointed to serve and to serve diligently and in terms of the Constitution and the Broadcasting Services Act. The major issues of priority is your allocation and distribution of spectrum, is to ensure that you contribute towards nation building, is to ensure that information sovereignty and technological sovereignty is protected, defended, and advanced in the context of nyika inovakwa nevene vaya, in that you have a part to play in order for us to build a sustainable, successful media and broadcasting services sector. And I have a number of questions to the board of directors, which is part of your numerical contracts. Yes, contracts will sign today, but in addition, we'll have numerical contracts that should clearly put in place the measurable aspects related to the growth of the sector. This institution is being born out of the unbundling and the liberalization of the media sector, and in particular, the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation. So the coming on board of BAS as a regulator, in terms of its growth, we're not really happy about the performance of the institution. If you are going to analyze that in terms of leaving no one and no place behind, the current national coverage in our country is less than 50% in terms of broadcasting services. So you have the responsibility to ensure that information, education, and entertainment and broadcasting services are within each and every district and every province of our country, thereby ensuring that we leave no one and no place behind. So how do you redefine information security, media sovereignty? This is part of the task that is being bestowed before the board of directors to steer the ship in order to ensure that we have total coverage in our country. Yes, we have had the ITU clearly defining that we need to move from analog to digital. This is part of the second phase of the Zim Digital project, which should ensure that we have ubiquity of information and media services across the country. The performance of the media industry in terms of print, generally, most of the big 5 media houses used to generate plus or minus in terms of sales, 100,000 copies some decades ago, but now not even any print media house can sell printed physical copies more than 5,000 copies per day, which clearly is redefined that in the context of the 4th Industrial Revolution, people are more focusing on broadcasting services and social media platforms in order to generate, gather, analyze, and also to be part of what is taking place within the globe. So the board of directors and management, we're giving you an important responsibility to redefine the roles and responsibilities within the context of the Broadcasting Services Act, within the functions of BAS, How do we ensure that we still have the national narrative and agenda setting of our country? The more other broadcasters play a pivotal role in broadcasting in our country, means that you are not in control. You are a broadcasting authority of Zimbabwe which does not have authority over identity, integrity, over the national character and nation building of our country. Imperialism is not yet over. And whichever country or individual or institution controls the national narrative of any country totally is total control over social media imperialism. In that they will define the markets, they will define the behavior, they will define who we are in the end. What our people consume, have access to in terms of broadcasting, in terms of media, defines who we will become in future. There's been a huge proliferation of people claiming to have supernatural powers to heal this disease and that disease. And this misinformation, disinformation, malinformation is being generated right under the noses of Broadcasting Authority of Zimbabwe. So you need to have the technologically advanced tools that are going to be able to regulate the entire sector. But at the same time, given that bundling that created buzz, what is the total staff complement here? Do we have the technological tools to monitor the broadcasting sector? No, we do not have. In terms of influence in our country, all the broadcasters play a pivotal role, the Zimbabwean registered broadcasters. But does BUZZ have the total national narrative in terms of broadcasting? These are some of the questions that you should be able to answer. That when we say Nyika inovakwa nevenewai, these people who claim to have supernatural powers to bring your lost lover, to obliterate some of the diseases, what are we doing in order to deal with such misinformation? We know it's not true. We know science-based decision-making and data-based decision-making is the way to go. But how are we allowing all these other people who are misinforming the nation to play a key role in misinforming each and every individual? So BUZZ has a responsibility. And at the same time, as you work together with other international broadcasters, some of the content that violates children's rights, some of the content is not related to the national character of our country. So as BUZZ, you have that responsibility to manage and focus on nation building. So the fact and reality that with ZBC as an institution which has given birth to transmedia, to BUZZ, but the other institutions, all of the three institutions, are not performing extremely well. I've given an example that at some point we had ZESA as one institution with one general manager, and in the old dispensation they unbundled it to create RIA, ZENT, ZTTDC, ZBC Holdings, and many other institutions. So we ended up with more than 6 boards of directors, plus 6 CEOs, FDs, and many other directors. But did the power generation increase? No, it did not increase. So in the new dispensation, the president, Dr. Edim Mnangagwa, said, no, let's rebundle it back into one institution. So BAS is as a result of the unbundling exercise. But after the unbundling exercise, is ZBC, BAS, and Transmedia doing extremely well? Well, we have to deal with some of the legislative challenges because we are amending the Broadcasting Services Act in order to ensure that the Broadcasting Services Act is also in line with modernity, and it's also restructured in terms of how the institutions in the context of the legislation. So the other tasks that you have before you is the Zoom Digital 2, which will ensure that we have total coverage in terms of broadcasting services across the country. The licensing framework in terms of community radio stations that are going to protect the identity, the values, and the heritage of our people, which is very important. The cost-cutting measures are very important for us as an institution, as BAS. The cost-cutting measures should reflect reality. We cannot have an institution which receives money for Zoom Digital project and they start flying around in hotels. I'll give you 2-3 examples of institutions at some point. The ZBC board, some of the board members were pushing for an induction workshop in Inyanga, valued at plus $40,000, 20 cars driving to Nyanga for induction. What is the purpose of induction? It is a kind of a summarized mini on-job training to appreciate and understand the operations of the institution that has appointed you. So you have people wanting to be inducted in Nyanga, far away from the institution. That kind of behavior has to come to an end. I'm happy that the BAS board and management, you have in your induction workshop here, and part of your induction is a tour, a familiarization tour of the broadcasting institutions in the country. And I want to commend you for a good. We cannot have board members who want or who love the comfort of 5-star hotels at the expense of the institution's success. In the same way, some of the board members who had been pushing for that, they were still owing employee salaries. They want to be inducted in Nyanga. I also had a similar situation with the Zimbabwe Media Commission, a ride shop. They wanted also to travel to Nyanga, $50,000 to correct 3-4 lines. And it's not even their legal responsibility to be able to do such work. So that culture of sleeping in hotels surely has to come to an end. This culture of having meetings outside the institution will not grow this sector. So your major responsibility is to ensure that we leave no one and no place behind. Is to ensure that you control the national narrative in the context of the national character, nation building, national cohesion, unifying the people of Zimbabwe, and giving direction so that each and every Zimbabwean contributes to nation building. This is a very important responsibility, is to ensure that you still reassert yourselves as an institution which will control what our people and how this country's national narrative and national agenda setting is propelled and is accelerated towards Vision 2030. It is very important for us and as a board that the assets in terms of the balance sheet, in terms of the books of accounts, what new revenue streams are you going to bring to BAS? We cannot have board members who are going to serve. You found the institution perhaps with reserves. By the time of departure, the institution is technically insolvent. We do not want that culture. We want a culture which is going to diversify the broadcasting sector, bring on board new revenue streams, focus on the national agenda, develop the institution, bring new assets on board, cut down on costs. And I believe we have the right people with the relevant skills, the knowledge and expertise in order for us to develop this institution. And part of your familiarization tour will clearly define how best you can be able to assist each and every institution. With the community radio stations, they are still new, they need part of your assistance. We've recently, as government, developed the legal framework. The Freedom of Information Act is one of them, in order to ensure that we comply with the Constitution of Zimbabwe in terms of access to information and at the same time the protection of journalists. And during my tenure, and I've said this and I'm proud to say this, no journalist has been arrested so far. Yes, I think we have a very good record. Yeah. So part of your business is also to orient these institutions towards nation building. So with these few remarks, I want to thank you all for coming, and at the same time that these performance contracts, we are adding a numerical contracts with clear targets for you to be able to achieve. If you found the institution with 25 people, it has to grow. If the sector had 3 or 4 licensed players, it has to grow. And you should be able to have the digital tools to clearly show us that the national coverage has increased, be it by commercial players or community radio stations. So the licensing framework is also part of your core business. I thank you.